Okay, friends, we are back today with my friend Michelle Geelan. Michelle, thanks for being back on here.
Oh, of course, anytime. I love spending time with you.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't mention last time that I think will be applicable for today is that in a past life, Michelle was also a very accomplished news anchor. So she knows not only this area of positive psychology really well, but also the area of the news. Because I think we're gonna get into the news, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you should.
So so we're still in the Sermon on the Mount. We're partway through chapter 5, talking through this long section where Jesus is doing some teachings about, like, here are kind of the expectations about how to treat each other and all of these things, but then he raises the expectations for us. And one of the things we talked about in a previous Bible study, one of the things that has really struck me about this recently is that Jesus isn't just saying change your mind, like just be different. He's not just saying be different. He is also giving on a couple of occasions some really practical things to do, because he seems to know that your internal mindset affects your external actions. We know that.
Yeah.
But that also what you actually do affects your internal mindset. It's not a matter of just changing your mind, it's changing your actions, which can help change your mind. I know a lot of your research, Michelle, has been about what are some of the things that we can do, even if they're smaller things. And we got into this a little bit last time, these smaller things that we can do that either positively or negatively affect our inner state. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think it's really important to observe our relationship with news because that is so much information that it's flowing into our minds that can have a direct effect on our mindset. And in turn, like you said, our actions, which either can be this upward spiral of success for all of us, or it can be a downward spiral, which no one wants, right? So I've looked at the role, as having been a former national news anchor with CBS, I was so curious about the role of negativity on the brain. How does that influence not only our mindset, but in turn our actions? I did a series of studies with Ariana Huffington, and we found that just 3 minutes of negative news in the morning can increase your chances of having a bad day by 27%. And that was as reported 68 hours later. So it's like instead of a vitamin with breakfast, you're taking a poison pill, you're still feeling the effects as you're cooking dinner that night. But what was significantly more hopeful was the follow-up study, which found that if you don't just expose your brain to problems, but you go on to expose them to potential or actual solutions to those challenges, it actually makes you 20% better on creative problem solving on other things. So what I love about that is that if we just allow the story to end with the problem, the suffering, the unhappiness around the world, we're not giving our brain the opportunity to see this new vision or the things that it can do, whether we actually take action on that particular challenge or not.
Yeah, that's really powerful. When I first heard you share that about how it affects our mood that far ahead, it's one of those things that is simultaneously astonishing and also like, yeah,
Yeah.
like I know that to be true, but I would have never framed it that way or never seen that. But when I start my day like laying in bed reading about suffering around the world that I probably need to be aware of, but that I can't necessarily do anything about, when I start my day like that, then it it negatively affects me. So we don't want to like have our heads in the sand. We don't want to be disconnected from what's happening in our communities or even around the world. So how do we do this in a more healthy way, do you think?
Well, what we want to do is just balance things out. I do advocate skipping over, if you're getting your news, for instance, on your phone or online, just skipping over those sensational headlines because we all know them, right? That
Yeah.
stuff is really, truly just not helpful on any level. But for the information that we do need to stay current on, I think you can do it, but just do it in a way that protects your brain against the negative consequences. So it's reading longer format stories that provide you with potential or actual solutions. Seek out stories of people experiencing triumphs over challenges previously, those, type CNN heroes or whatever you want to call them, but these people who have really blazed a new path. Also, oftentimes a community is struggling with a challenge, and there's another community right across, the river from them. They've somehow managed to overcome that challenge. How did they do it? By reading those stories, we can get inspired. And what we're really combating here is this: when our brain is bombarded by problem, that blah feeling is ultimately kind of rewriting our belief to create positive change in the world. So look within our sphere of influence. What's the positive change I can create with a family member, with my community, with people at my church? What organization or particular cause do I feel really passionate about? Just my advice is just pick one, but really commit to it. Because when we do that, we remind our brain that we have power in this world to, create the positive change that we're after. And that kind of buffers our brain against the negative consequences of negative news in the world.
That's really, really helpful. I love the idea of keeping your eyes open to and seeking out news that has those potential solutions also, that it's not just putting the negative news out there, but also these longer format articles that are going to also help you navigate, all right, what can I do in response here? Yeah. And again, back to kind of connecting this to what Jesus is after is, yeah, I think that we so often think that it is easy for us just to change our mindset. But what your research is pointing to, and again, 2,000 years ago, it seems to be what Jesus is teaching is, no. The things that we do in response or proactively, they actually affect our mindset. So one other thing that I know that you've talked about practically to do is when you talk about buffering your mind, is also be careful about when you're exposing yourself to the news, right? It may be maybe it's not the first thing you need to do or the last thing that you need to do before bed. So along those lines, any other advice for people as far as little things that make a big impact?
Well, I mean, yeah, you want to fill up your bucket with positive things first, and that can sort of help bolster your positive resources. And, maybe I guess, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever is the time for you
Yeah.
to kind of get caught up. Also set time limits. That's really helpful. I talk about this concept of fact checking when I give presentations at companies, and how when you're feeling a stress, you want to make sure you have uh, objectively true facts that are serving you in the best way. If someone just gives you a pep talk, don't worry about it, don't stress about it, that the benefit of that lasts for 2 minutes, right? Because our brain just goes right back to the old set of facts of why we should be stressing. I think with this, it's very important to have to recognize consciously those moments in which our behavior has made a difference. So doing those actions that you're talking about reinforces that. It gets our brain to focus on that. And then we fall subject to that, that feeling of helplessness much less, because we have this whole cadre of examples and ways in which we've actually done something. And I think, I love looking at the newspaper now as online on my phone, but
Right.
as an opportunity to either to get informed about something in ways in which I could make potentially a difference, or if I'm not actually going to donate to the cause or raise awareness or have a meaningful conversation with somebody about it, perhaps the true answer in that circumstance is prayer. We pray for those people that are experiencing that. There's always something that can be done. The question is, what are we going to do? What choice are we going to make? And how is that ultimately going to affect the trajectory of our lives?
Oh, Michelle, that's really, really good. Yeah, I think about Amber Alerts. I got one today, and like, what do we do with those, right? Because beyond looking for the silver Honda, what can you do? Well, I mean, you can be involved in organizations that combat human trafficking and things like that. But then also in that moment, what do you do? I don't know if I would be able to survive all of these Amber Alerts if I didn't take that as an opportunity to pray. No, you stop and you pray for this young person in that moment. So, Michelle, this has been so helpful. Thank you for your time, your research, and your presentation. They matter so much, and I'm grateful for our friendship. I'm grateful that you're a part of our church, and I'm grateful for you sharing this today. Thank you.
Oh, Matt, thank you so much. And I'm equally grateful for our friendship. I'm so thankful for your guidance. And I just feel like knowing you and listening to you and how you process the Bible and the world around you, it's just been such a blessing for me and for my family. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. All right. God bless you. God bless you, friends, and we'll see you next time.